and the judge, and everyone talked about what an angry young man he was. And I never knew that Tal. I knew the success story Tal. And he got through drug court in 1.5 years instead of 2 years. And this kid, you know, I told him, I said, Tal, what's your secret? And he just looked at me and said, it's nice to be happy. He's sober, he's happy, I think he's engaged. The town of Frisco loves this kid. I mean, his aura is just so fantastic. And he completed drug court 6 months before he was supposed to. And then the DA's office filed a motion to revoke and put him on supervised probation because the agreement was that drug court be 2 years, not 1.5 years. They took his second chance away from him. The judge denied it, rightfully so, but that was his second chance. And to reward him for it, they took him down. That's Tal's story. I just can't sit around and hear that. When you take someone's success away from it, and what you call it tough on crimes, that's not tough on crime. I don't know where Tal would be if he would gone to prison. I don't know what kind of person he would be. I don't know if he would be the Tal I know. And that's just scary. This is a member of our society, and he is a great member of our society. Don't get me wrong, there is a class of crimes that need to be prosecuted. And they're not. Between the last 4 county county court attorneys we've had, DDAs, Molly, Jenya, Stephanie, and Dominic. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I know there's a lot of defense attorneys. I think they've won 2 cases. 2 cases. My biggest fans are jurors, because they've seen it. They've seen the waste of money and the waste of time. I want restorative justice. I want to effectively prosecute the 10% of crime that we need protection from. I want it to protect us effectively against the community or against the criminals that really pose a threat to our community. But I also want to protect us against the government, because what's happening is not right. We should celebrate the success stories. Thank you.
I don't see a lot of hands.
I'll ask Bruce here. Since you started first,
Mike, we get 2 Bruces.
oh, Bruce 1, Bruce Brett. What do you see as the major legal problems we have in Eagle County, or I guess in the whole district? Is it illegal immigration? Is it drugs? Is it, what is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure I could be so particular as to Eagle County. It seems like a common thread. You know, you do have mental health issues which are important. We had a guy who had a severe mental health problem trying to take over a Greyhound bus on its way through Eagle County and scared the heck out of a lot of people, and fundamentally he was suffering from PTSD. So that's an example of an extraordinary mental health problem that puts at risk a lot of people. And then we have drugs. I mean, part of the drug problem that I've really tried to attack is twofold. One is, if a seller of a drug is contributing to the death of another person, we prosecute the seller for manslaughter. We're raising the stake for the dealers, not the users, the dealers, because they killed somebody. And the other one is butane hash oil explosions, because if you can cook butane hash oil in a dispensary, but it's a licensed process. A lot of kids want to do this at home. Unfortunately, those homes are near your homes, and it's a very volatile process. And we've had a few explosions in Eagle County. So to me, those are really high public health concerns that end up weaving its way through the criminal justice system, through the community in so many different fashions, but I would say it's mental health and it's substance abuse.
And illegal immigration, is that a big issue in the district?
You know, there's a lot of people who are undocumented who live in Eagle County. I don't see it so much as a criminal justice issue, with the primary exception of people it's still having difficulty becoming licensed drivers, even though the legislature allows undocumented aliens to get driver's license. They haven't put the resources to it. So we have a lot of people coming round and round through for driving under the revoked license charges, which is not good. But you know, for the most part, I think our Latino community is very law-abiding. They're important to our economy. They do a lot of jobs they won't do. And so I do not think illegal immigration is a big contributor of problems within the county.
Okay.
So even though the question was directed to Bruce Brown, I'd like to give the other two candidates a chance to chime in if they want to. Bruce?
Thank you, Ron. I've been watching Eagle County and the other 3 counties that make up the 5th Judicial District for the past 27 years. And that's an easy question. We are a resort vacation-based community, and people tend to drink and drug more on vacation than they would at home. Then they drive, then they get in arguments and get domestic violence cases. Those are our 2 biggest source of criminal charges. DUI and, thank you, Mike, and domestic violence. So what do we do about them? Well, we need to make it so that we don't have repeat offenders, that we don't have recidivism, so that we put the effort into the case at the beginning of the case to make our lives as a community easier down the road. If someone has one offense and they go through a system that trains them to not re-offend, then they are not coming back and coming back and coming back. That then makes it easier for the staff 4 years down the road. I am all about working smarter, not harder. And to that end, we need good training of the deputy DAs. We need all of the attorneys to be working a designated caseload, and we need them all to be intelligent. So.
I would have to agree with what Bruce said. The one thing that I would like to focus on, regardless of the result of this election, is mental health. That's an issue that's on the rise, and there's really no resources for it. I was appalled when I found out that Clear Creek County doesn't even have an MD within its county, let alone a treatment facility or detox or anything. So they're essentially using the jail as the only resource they have, which is just devastating. So what I would like to see as far as mental health goes, because I do see that as the biggest issue we need to address right now, and it does attribute to crime in certain instances, but I would love to see an advocacy group formed for mental health. We have it for victims of assault, we have it for victims of domestic violence, and I think our veterans could use that support, and so could mental health. And we have, just in campaigning, I have found so many people, whether they're retired psychiatrists or families, willing to get together and volunteer their time to form something. As for the problems, I have to agree with Bruce that the bulk of the cases are drinking related, minor drug offenses, and we're just throwing so much resources instead of focusing on restorative justice and drug court and problem solving courts, and then taking our efforts and resources into prosecuting the homicide cases, the violent cases, the sexual assault cases. So that's where I see the biggest improvement to be made right now.
Mike?
I have a question. I'm sure you know that I'm running for county commissioner. So in that search for answers of what's going on in Eagle County, I've spent some time in the justice court system down there looking around. In large proportion of the people that you see going to court are Hispanics. I mean, there's a huge disproportionate number of people. How do you explain that? Does that stem from the initial policing, or why is it that when you go into there, you see so many Hispanics? And what causes that, and how can we solve that?
So the answer is with Bruce Carey.
I'm guessing that you show up on the group arraignment day where the unrepresented public is out in the hallway and waiting to see a deputy DA. So you are not seeing all of the people that are charged that have an attorney. You are also seeing all the people with tickets that did not read the back of the ticket and see the 2-point reduction on a traffic ticket that they can pay within 20 days and get a 2-point reduction paying it by mail. So one thing that I would like to do is hire a bilingual county court deputy DA. We do have interpreters that show up every day, but a lot is lost in going through an interpreter, from you to the interpreter, to the defendant, back to the interpreter, back to you. I've stood in court and heard da 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 da, and then the same repeated, and then have the interpreter say, no. And you're thinking that you missed out on a whole lot of interpretation, but you get no. So I would like to have a bilingual county court deputy, and quite possibly have that person go to arraignment day in Eagle and Summit, possibly Clear Creek and Lake.
Sonnenalp?
You know, this is a national issue, and we're definitely not immune from it. And I wish I could say I have all the answers, but the one thing I keep coming back to in addressing the issue is to having a diverse staff. Because only through diversity can we understand the issues that face our justice system in the proportionate number of Hispanics that we see versus the white defendants. And I do think it has to do with that initial contact. And what's amazing about the district attorney's office, which I haven't seen in the 5th Judicial, but the district attorney is in a very great position of holding law enforcement accountable if they see misconduct. What you need to do is pick up the phone, hold them accountable, instead of move forward with certain cases that you think are based on racial disparities. And again, I think to have that diversity would be great. Now, as far as our deputy DAs that we have now, I've never talked to someone that's unrepresented, but I have never felt as a defense attorney that my client was treated any different because of race. So I've never had that happen to me or gotten that feeling. But again, I don't know what it's like for the group that goes in unrepresented without the financial ability to get an attorney, and I think diversity is the only way we can approach the problem.
Bruce Carey?
Thanks, Mike, for your question. So it's a big issue, right? I mean, look at the people in front of you. They're not Latino, they're not minority. And our
She's Persian.
Yes, but
a different minority than we're used to seeing. So, with respect to why is there such a disparity? Because there is. I mean, I think if you look to the docket, you can easily identify the names, and Latinos are overrepresented as defendants on the dockets. I mean, it is what it is. They're also overrepresented as victims as well. So this is a vulnerable population in many different ways. Law enforcement's been pretty good, I think, about doing community outreach in both Eagle County and Summit County. There are Latino police academies that they try to involve the adults who are the parents of a lot of the kids that are going through the court system and show them this is what police officers do. And as part of their curriculum, the district attorney's office will participate. So if they have like 8 sessions, we'll do 1. I'd love to have a staff with more Spanish-speaking attorneys. We have 1 on our county court staff in Eagle County currently, which is awesome, which is great. It doesn't substitute for a court interpreter, but it's a big help. With respect to how I can make my office more representative of our community, we have discussions. The reality is we've got 2 law schools in the state of Colorado, CU Boulder and Denver. The minorities that come out of there are heavily courted by civil law firms, and they're offered sums of money that there's no way that I can compete with. So love to tap into the population. We're thinking of creative ways in order to do it, but we haven't overcome that rubric yet. And then there was some insinuation that this office does not hold law enforcement officers accountable, which is just rubbish. We've convicted 2 police officers in Lake County for stealing evidence. We have currently charged the former Leadville police chief with doing the same, stealing evidence, stealing other people's property. We have charged, and ultimately the person was convicted, an Eagle County Sheriff's deputy who on his duty time was having a hanky-panky with citizens. Not a good thing when you're wearing a badge to have that disparity of power, and the insinuation is that the next step, which didn't occur there, was sexual assault. So I acknowledge that this is an issue. I think that as long as we have minorities who are, there's an economic disparity, we will see them overrepresented in the court.
It's more of a comment, Ron. I'm J.B. Katz. I'm a defense attorney in Breckenridge. And Bruce, I'm just surprised. I just wanted to put it in context for the lawyer, Bruce Brown. The comment about asking the judges to have a meet and confer obligation before motions are filed for the civil attorneys that are here. And I have I practice nothing but criminal defense in every